earlier on February 19th, China's Foreign Ministry renewed its criticism of Vietnam's land reclamation efforts on Barque Canada Reef in the Spratly Islands. It had previously complained about this particular reef in 2019. China's Ministry of Natural Resources claims that from 2022 to 2024, the land area of Barque Canada Reef has expanded tenfold. Additionally, it says Vietnam has dredged a channel almost 300 meters wide, which can accommodate warships. Professor Lee, so Vietnam has engaged in this sort of activity, I believe, since the since the 2010s. However, do you think that the Barque Canada Reef marks any shift in Vietnam's strategy?
I think it's the continuation, but just enhance the efforts a little bit more here, because we know that Barque Canada Reef is the largest feature Vietnam hold in Spratly Island, and now they have the runway, and they also kind of create some platforms for military. Housing the military equipment over there. So that give kind of open another page for Vietnam to have these options for taking off and landing the aircraft there. So of course get some strategic benefits, and sometimes we call this as a strategic defense.
Right.
So also this is also learned from the experience from Scarborough Shoal. Experience with Philippines and China, right? So Philippines lost the island at that time, but this is kind of try to build something there, infrastructure structure layer, and then kind of deny China's accessibility to the area there. Yeah,
right,
so.
I see. And so, Professor Liou, because before we could say that Vietnam has said that its approach is not to militarize the islands. It obviously agrees that it is building out artificial islands, but it's also always maintained they weren't for military purposes. So is this reef a little bit different?
Yeah, I think it's still relevant to military operation in the future. But at this moment, it's still working on building the artificial islands. Actually, from Chinese side, they had complained several times. They said it was Vietnam who started to build these artificial islands. That's why we have to do in order to respond to what Vietnam did. So that is why this action-reaction. That's also why China this time the test, conducted this live fire.
But we're not saying that we agree with China's narrative, though, are we?
I said both sides tried to do something continued, but also at the same time they negotiate with each other and try to show the world they are still good friends. But in reality, when it comes to sovereignty, neither side can make any concessions. In particular, as just mentioned about Thailand, this is also for him to show the Vietnamese nationalism in order to get more support inside Vietnam. This is very important.
For every leader, yes. Professor Lee, so how do you interpret China's unusually public criticism? I mean, it doesn't do it often, of Hanoi, given that it is guilty of reclaiming actually twice as much, never mind who was first, perhaps, but in terms of area, twice as much land as Vietnam in the South China Sea?
I think public criticism is just one thing there, because we see further move there. They have the live fire exercise there, so step by step. So I think China really cares, and they know that they see the intention of Vietnam here, just like what Professor Liu said, that the new leader do have the ambitions to become a bigger country or a powerful, more powerful country here. So China has to think about something to kind of show their disagreement or protest against the rising of another country there.
Right. And what do you think, Professor Liu, of how it made that show? Because it could have simply just done it, in private. It's the kind of thing, the kind of communication that Beijing itself prefers. The fact that it did it so publicly, as in the live fire drills, and then publicly complaining about Vietnam, how does that reflect on China's own reputation, do you think?
Actually, China is not really afraid of Vietnam. China has all kinds of cards against Vietnam. Already China has imposed these kind of threats to Vietnam in a big way,
So
even though we talk about cooperation.
So what was the point of making it so public? Bring it into the public realm?
Because, of course, Chinese do not want to see already Philippines is challenging China. And Vietnam has already been quiet for a long time. And, 2009, it was Vietnam who started talking about China claim, South China Sea is China's core national interest, and then started fighting. At that time, Vietnam was the vanguard against China, but now it's Philippines. And so that is why China does not want to see both countries again working together against China. Okay, so that is why China, as I said, China has used Laos, Cambodia, and Thailand, at least 3 cards in order to, isolate Vietnam. In particular, high-speed railway.
Which we're going to get onto now.
China already completed its high-speed railway to Laos, and then just recently, Thai Prime Minister went to China, and before that, the cabinet already passed to build the second phase of the Sino-Thai high-speed railway. This is very important because the second phase is going to link to Thai's capital, Bangkok. Then Bangkok can link to Malaysia and Singapore. Then almost done the Pan-Asia railway network.
Right, and so this is
the other side.
Yeah, this is the missing link, which we'll get onto.
Yeah.
A very good introduction, thank you. Vietnam's National Assembly recently approved the construction of a 390-kilometre cross-border railway from its largest northern port city to the border with China through capital city Hanoi. The new rail line will run through key manufacturing hubs home to Samsung, Foxconn, Pegatron, many of which rely on components from China. Beijing will provide funding through loans for the $8 billion project. It is the first part of Vietnam's 2 corridors, 1 belt initiative, connecting to Beijing's Belt and Road Initiative. Professor Lee, let me come to you. So how significant do you think is the change of heart by Vietnam? Traditionally, it was the missing link. It didn't want to be involved in these railways, Chinese ones.
I think because Vietnam also attend BRI summit. Okay, so he participated in One Belt, One Road, but not a real project yet. That's the thing. So symbolically, of course, Vietnam support, or at least not against China's One Belt, One Road there. And right before, several years ago, they have already reached agreement to have these 2 corridors and 1 belt economic rings there. So,
but they were sort of proposed 2003. You're right. It's been kicking around for a long time. MOU in 2017, but progress has been so slow.
Yes. So actually we see that South China Sea issue, of course, is one thing, right? So there is an anti-Chinese sentiment in the public of Vietnam there. And secondly, the quality of China's high-speed rail, they question about that or not trust, and also the labor forces, a lot of other things. So when China say wanted to invest something there, they just bring their own workers, right? We all know about that. Nothing to do with the Vietnamese economy there. And so Vietnam did play some cautious steps over there, not to just really involve there. But we know that recently Vietnam also signed their own high-speed rail from Hanoi to Ho Chi Minh cities and emphasize on the self-funding. Okay, so actually they are seeking about this autonomy in economic terms as well. And this one, the one we mentioned about this Lao Jie to Haifang Shi, this one also they are only ask for partial financial assistance or financial loans rather than foreign aids. So it's kind of different concept here. So I think Vietnam, they have their own strategy to pursue autonomy here. Okay, just as their South China Sea policy as well. They call East Sea. But so in the past they kind of focus more on marine economy. But now they moved after 2021. They moved to islands building strategy there. there. So that's why we see a lot of land filling and also infrastructure building over there. So I think Vietnam tried to be more proactive in a lot of sense, strategical proactively. So that's something we have to watch.
So I'm reading from you that what you're saying is you don't believe this will make Vietnam more dependent on China, because you say that there are loans?
China, yeah. So thinking about the question you just asked, why China has to publicly criticize what Vietnam did, right? So if they are seeking about autonomous here, then there's a great possibility that they will align with U.S. or other superpowers or other great powers as well. So that's something China doesn't want to see, right? So so taking the experience, what happened between the Philippines and China. So actually, China has been relatively nice to Vietnam already. For instance, the live fire drills, they informed Hanoi, okay? And Hanoi also responds, say that they only conduct those drills in the Chinese domain, okay? So compared to what just happened in the Tasman Sea, right? And what happened to us, right? So it's kind of nice to Vietnam already. So, but you know, on the thing here, if Vietnam wanted to seek a strategic autonomy, that means they don't want to be dependent on either great powers. They are trying to do that. That's what I observed.